wanted to ask you, who of you has had someone in their team disappear during the last 2 years thanks to a restructure?
Yep,
Put it at that. Or yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Right now, actually.
Oh, yep.
Seems to happen almost like every 6 months rather than every 2 years these days.
Yes. And do you feel that a chunk of the tasks have somehow landed on your plate?
That's a good question. I've seen teams put under a lot of pressure because they're leaned out, but they still expected to do the same amount of work. So maybe not directly, but I've seen that stress for sure.
Yeah. I work as a consultant and a coach, so I get around to different clients, and it's something I see everywhere. There are lots of restructures, and there are lots of people who are just super busy. Even people who have lost their job, then found a new one, and just feel that they are doing more than one person's job. And I get this feeling that everyone is being asked to do more in less time. And I wanted to unpack what's actually happening there, why this is happening, and is it really true, or are we just feeling this? And what I noticed is whenever I open LinkedIn, it's the sea of green, of people having this little thing of open to work. And there are layoffs basically everywhere, and even the safe places like the banks that were a safe bet not too long ago now are laying off people in Australia and New Zealand. And telcos are, and even the kind of darlings of the tech industry like Atlassian or Xero are laying people off and are restructuring. It's private, and it's also in government, local government, and basically lots and lots of companies are seeming to shed some of the fat. And I get this impression that basically there's so much fat that has been trimmed that there is nothing left to trim. Our organizations are actually pretty lean. And that leaves lots of people who are in those organizations who are still somehow expected to do the same amount of work. And everyone's telling me that they have, they're doing multiple projects, they're doing side of the desk projects, they are meeting all the time, and they've got like 5 number one priorities, and the workload is just going up, and there's basically no time for learning or for actual reflection. And then I talk to people, I've had that thought myself, yeah, okay, it's more work, but now we have AI, so I'm going to be so much more productive, and lots of the boring admin stuff I can outsource, so I will have time to focus and reflect again. And I think yes, but also a big no. Some of the admin we can definitely outsource to AI, but what I see happening is not that people use AI productively and then have more time. It's they have more time, so there's another restructure because we can get rid of more people, and that's how organizations shrink. I've just been to Vienna back home, and I met with one of my really good friends, Barbara. She is on the exec team as an HR person of a major multinational telco, and her job during the last 2 years has been letting go of people. Just having making redundancies happen. And that company, they moved from 17,000 people to 7,500 people. And what she's telling me is, yes, part of it is recession, inflation, and so on, but a large part of this is due to automation and AI. This is something that's happening right now. Not just in a multinational telco, but basically everywhere. And it's a trend that is not going to be reversed anytime soon. So the question is, if there are fewer of us and fewer of us doing the same amount of work, this problem is here to stay. And I don't think that just saying, oh, AI is going to help us is the solution to it, because we're still stuck with more work than ever. So the main question, I think, is how do we actually make this work? And the first thing that comes to mind is that the real drag in organizations, I believe, is not actually having access to resources, whether it's people or anything else. It's waiting. It's waiting for decisions, waiting for approval, waiting for clarity, like who's even allowed to decide. And I see all those people stuck asking, so what are we supposed to do? What are requirements? Can I do this? Should we do this? And I had this recent experience that something that should have taken a week took months. I'm working in an energy company at the moment, and this team I was working with, they had built something really good. And when I joined them, I said, well, hey guys, show me what you've got. And they did. And it was really good. So I thought, hey, this is awesome. Why isn't it live? And they said, well, it's missing this feature and this other thing and this, so it's not really there. And I thought, well, is it better than what people have right now? I thought, oh yeah, totally, 100%. And so why don't you just ship it? And everyone just looked at me and said, well, nobody told us that we could do this. We don't even know who would make that decision. And there's so much good work everywhere that is basically stuck because decisions are not being made. So what's the obvious thing here? The obvious alternative is to just have someone come through, cut through, and decide. Just make a call, speak things up. Centralized decision-making and tell people what to do. It's the intuitive choice. But, and I know right now this is actually a growing trend. It's backed by data from over 2,000 organizations. The Business Agility Institute have just done some research. And there's a trend towards authoritarian leadership where power is centralized. One person is calling the shot, everyone else is just following. And the thing is, it feels really fast. It feels decisive and efficient. But it comes at a huge cost, and it's actually worse. And the reason why it's so bad is that it makes for really bad decisions. It makes for bad decisions because it kills any debate. It kills dissent. It strips away any diversity of thought. Because if you're not there to have an influence on any decision, why even bother? You just sit there, wait to be told what to do. Evan has this really nice example in his newsletter, Evan from the Business Agility Institute, where he talks about Twitter or X and about the layoffs and the reversals and the impulsive decision-making and how that has caused the company to lose about 72% of its value. So authoritarian leadership looks like speed, but it kills innovation and it crushes creativity. In a way, it destroys the agility that it claims to value. So there's still a problem, and which is the waiting for decisions. And I think swinging to dominance is not the solution. The only way that I think is a valuable or legit way to go forward is having or increasing autonomy. Autonomy means pushing decisions to the edges, people closest to the work, where the information is, and closest to the customer and reality. Agreement so far?
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see the same thing in the organizations that I work with, that people are stretched so thin that they're also just trying to do too much, like they get the context switching. But having I guess you still need a decision maker position, right? How do you do that? Like, how do you give teams autonomy but still make sure that there's a captain or someone that can help, you know, make the calls to make stuff happen? Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Yes. And that is a really important question, and I don't think abolishing all hierarchy is a good idea. I think it's about clarity of decision making, who can make what decision and who should make it. Very often we're waiting for decisions because we don't know what we can and what we can't decide. And then people lean towards not deciding even things they theoretically could or practically could decide on. But there's a lack of clarity, and there's also, I think, not enough pushing towards the edges. And this comes with a big leadership challenge. And I think that autonomy needs to be handled in two fronts. Like, one is leaders who need to enable this autonomy. So thanks for that segue. Leaders need to enable the autonomy, and I think we're talking a lot about that already, how they need to trust people, how they need to support people. And we're talking a lot about this, so I actually want, in this talk, I want to talk about the other part of the equation, because people also need to accept the autonomy and use the autonomy they have been given. And it's not that I don't think the leadership part isn't important, but I want to address the balance that we are not talking about the parts where people need to accept autonomy. And I got a growing tension around, a sense of a growing tension around like 2021 or so. And when I started sensing that we are moving towards command and control, autonomy seems to be declining. And it came up in several conversations that I had with friends in leadership positions. So what I did then was I started deliberately interviewing people, leaders, in between 2021 and 2025. I'm still doing this. And I talked to about 20 to 25 leaders in both New Zealand, Australia, Europe, and the US. And I talked to CEOs, I talked to people in the private sector, public servants, to partners in a law firm, product managers, very diverse backgrounds and perspective, but all relatively senior leaders. And they all came up with a number of points around what they see in organization, what is slowing us down, and why autonomy is declining. And I want to share those with you now. So the number one thing that every single leader said is people are really fragile, they're fearful, and they're more self-absorbed than ever. And seriously, every single person said they had this impression. And it's one thing what 20 leaders say, but I then started to find the data to back this up. And here's some stats for Australia and New Zealand. They looked the same in the rest of the world, but I thought Australia and New Zealand are clearly the most important one. But those are the mental health stats, Australia and New Zealand, and they measure that by the increase in depression and anxiety that went up around COVID and basically has never come down since, because lots of things are going on. There's global instability, there's climate change, there are the unknown impacts of AI and all those restructures and layoffs and companies trimming the fat. And I think it makes sense when people are a little bit anxious, when they're struggling with life, when they're fragile, they can't be creative. They can't have the mental energy to take that autonomy and make something happen. They will sit there and go, well, the safe thing is to sit back and be told what to do. There will be anxiety, makes you inwards facing and self-absorbed. You simply don't have the headspace to think freely and creatively and combine ideas from different parts of or different fields. And by the way, I'm not saying that you feel like this. You might not, but the stats show that lots of people around you will probably feel this. And I heard from all the leaders that learned helplessness has increased. And I observe it too. And I might even go further and call this a demanding helplessness, where people just sit back, waiting to be told what to do, and demanding other people solve their problems. I see it when I work with teams and they're just waiting to be spoon-fed tickets. They're just kind of lukewarm, unengaged, factory-like agile teams or just sit there waiting to be given stuff to do. A user story that's really a detailed spec, waiting for a product owner to tell people what to do next, what to work on next, without actually having an opinion. Just tell me the requirements and know what to code or test. And I see it in stand-ups where people are just talking about tasks and not solving problems. And I hate the ones where you just go, so what are you working on? Oh, Jira 2076. Like, you're not working on a ticket. You're solving a problem for someone. And I see Scrum Master, product managers, delivery managers, agile coaches who are just using this helplessness to just vent and complain about dysfunction, about how things could be better, but resigning to how things are. But they, things are like this, here, and management doesn't understand. And even taking a level higher onto an organizational level. I think organizational helplessness is seeking frameworks and looking for templates without changing them, whether it's SAFe or a Spotify model or McKinsey, just looking for frameworks. Don't ask me to think, just tell me what to do. And you might say, well, what does it actually matter? Like, as long as I just sit back, do as I'm being told, I'll be sweet. I don't think you will, and I don't think we will, and I think our organizations also will not. It's a problem because this passive sitting back, waiting to be taught what to do, slows us down. It makes decisions slower. Everything is stuck because decisions are, first of all, they have to travel up the ladder and travel down the ladder. That increases waiting time. And they're also less accurate because it becomes a bit like Chinese whisper when the information has to travel up, loses some of its information, gets lost, have to travel down again. So teams and people, not decisions at the right level, makes for less accurate and slower decisions. And people sitting back waiting to be taught what to do don't think. They don't perform well. They don't innovate. They don't think as broadly as they should. And we also lose motivation because we know what motivates us. We know from Daniel Pink that it's autonomy, mastery, and purpose that make us happy at work. And this learned helplessness is the opposite of autonomy. It makes us really unhappy. There's research that has linked learned helplessness to depression and anxiety. And there's a ripple effect. It's not just bad for the individuals. Once it's part of an organizational culture, it becomes contagious and affects everyone. So I do think we actually need to fix this. And I want to talk to you about 3 ways of not necessarily fixing it, but helping improve things. And I want to share with you 3 tools that I want to give you. And the first of it is that we need to look at ourselves and train our resilience muscle. Resilience is not just pushing through whatever happens, we're smarter than that. But resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. Like when bad stuff happens, we bounce back, hopefully stronger and better. And bad stuff happens to all of us, whether it's external, like the job market, agile, been in a crisis, or if it's internal, we care about something, we try to succeed, but we fail. So we all face adversity and need to develop resilience. And like a muscle, it needs to be strengthened over time. Now, I found this really good framework that's by Matt Fitzgerald. And it's coming from a book that's called The Comeback Quotient. And Matt Fitzgerald looks into what makes elite athletes succeed and how do they deal with adversity. And he interviewed lots of athletes, individual stories, and found that all of them, either consciously or subconsciously, use the same framework. And that framework has 3 steps. The first one is accepting reality. That's accepting and acknowledging the situation as it is. I mean, not pretending this is not happening, not catastrophizing, but just going, life just gave me lemons. Perceive the situation in a way that preserves the ability to make decisions. As a next step, embrace reality, like choosing what to do and committing to get it done, whether that's adjusting the strategy, your approach, or even the mindset. The step is basically committing to making lemonade. And then you actually have to make the lemonade and actually do the work. I've applied this framework many times, not just in sports, but also right now in a world that is changing with AI, accepting and acknowledging that AI is going to have a huge impact on our job and our workplaces, on my job and my workplace. Not pretending it won't affect me. Also not going, oh my God, the sky's falling. Saying we're all out of a job, but just accepting it. Next step is embracing it. I've personally committed to integrating AI into my work, keeping an open mind and facing change with curiosity. And then steps to address reality. And that is, I have committed to using AI every day. I learn as much as I possibly can. I enroll in formal education and I share my experiences with others. Or accepting the other reality. We need to do more with less. Embracing it, the best choice we have is to adjust our mindset. Embrace the autonomy and the responsibility and the freedom that comes with it. And then addressing. Understanding or developing a mindset of understanding the problem rather than just tell me what to do. And because everything is currently so new, uncertain, and under so much change, we need to learn together. We need to figure this out together. So that means learning in public. And learning in public, by the way, means failing in public, which is hard. But I bet many of you are agile coaches. And as agile people, coaches are not, as agile people, this is what we do. We are experts in dealing with uncertainty and learning and creating learning environments and organizations. So I think we should remember where we come from and go, well, this is what we do. We deal with uncertainty, we experiment, and we succeed and fail in public so we can share our learnings. The second tool is, I think we need to reassess and recalibrate our work relationships, because if there's a lack of autonomy, that is a relationship issue. There's an imbalance between leaders currently and people. By the way, you can be both. Most of us are both leaders and people. But if you have a boss, you're also people. So right now I'm focusing on people. But if there's one part that keeps control and the other part is waiting to be taught what to do, this is not an adult-to-adult relationship. So I would like to encourage everyone to assess your relationships at work and checking if they are equal relationships. And I said, I'm not talking about abolishing formal hierarchy. It's not the problem. I'm talking about two equals, two adults in a balanced relationship. And there's a framework that I have developed based on the work, loosely based on the work of Robert Kelly's work on organizations and teams. And That is, first of all, you're going to see boxes and think, oh my God, she's going to put people in boxes. I'm not. I'm putting relationships in boxes. And also my goal is to move the relationships across the boxes so they're not walls. With that, there are two axes in which we have the boxes. And in relationships, people can be engaged or disengaged. And people can bring to the table independent critical thinking or a being taught what to do mindset. And let me start with the first ones, which are the toxic relationships. And that's very often people who think extremely well, but they often snipe from the sidelines. Those are people who've got stuck. They've seen too much. They are good critical independent thinkers, but they're passive carrying out their role. It's like I had this really good developer, brilliant developer I once worked with, and deeply experienced, great thinker, and everything he said was just laced with sarcasm. Like every meeting, just sitting there, arms crossed, eyes rolled, little digs, like, oh yeah, let's see how long that lasts. And when I asked him, so why don't you speak up more constructively? He just said, well, I used to, but no one listened to me, so now I just keep my head down, watch the train wreck. And that's something that happens if someone has been micromanaged, if there's command and control and people give up. There are the relationships in the box of dependent, uncritical thinking and disengaged. Those are people who lack relationships, that lack initiative and a sense of responsibility. Just perform tasks and then stop. It's about the quiet quitting. There's a relationship that's broken where someone is disengaged and has stopped critical thinking. Then there are ones that are the conformist relationships. People who, they're the yes men. You give them a task and then the other part goes absolutely, they don't necessarily engage the brain about why they're doing something or think through whether that's the right thing to do in the first place, but they don't question the order and happily follow them. And all of those are quite problematic because they're not even relationships. They're not relationships where we have conversations about what needs to be done and what's the right thing to do, and we're not learning together. So all of those relationships we want to push into the top right corner, which is the effective adult-to-adult relationship. And that's where when there's any change, we don't go like, okay, so what's the plan? Instead, we find out, how can we contribute? It's not what's the task, but what is the problem that we are solving? How can I help? How can I fix this? And I think it would make a huge change if, for example, the next planning meeting, whether it's a quarterly meeting or a sprint planning meeting, instead of just showing up and being handed user stories of tasks, projects, we come with an informed perspective and we are ready to challenge and also to listen and take ownership of the outcome rather than just being told what to do. And I think right now there are so many relationships that are stuck in the lower two boxes. And if we want to have more autonomy and want to speed things up, we need to move out of those two boxes and put in our relationships into the upper right box. So my ask to all of you is to assess every single one of your work relationships. Look which quadrant they go into and then ask yourself, well, how have you contributed to this relationship? How could you begin to change it? What conversations need to happen? And then make it happen. And my last tool is something that mainly leaders can make happen. Other people can influence, but I realize it's not necessarily their decision ultimately. I actually want to ask quickly, who of you gets to choose their own team?
Very rarely, if at all.
Have you ever?
A very long time ago, not at the current organisation that I'm at now.
And did you see any difference? Did it make a difference to you?
To me, because I'm a delivery lead, so I'm a Scrum Master. I focus a little bit more on psychological safety, especially if I have to go into a new team, because otherwise they're not going to come to me with blockers or impediments that I cannot help them with, and then I'm kind of redundant. But I feel that the ones that did choose their team, it definitely made that a lot easier to deal with, because they've all got that relationship already. But I guess on the other hand as well, as sometimes it'll be kind of like what you used to do in school, like you used to want to be just like paired with your friends, or like if you've got like multiple people in like the same office, you're like, I want to work with this person. It's not that if they've got the right skill set, and they might have some of the skills but not all of them, to make a nice well-rounded team for what you need.
Love your experience, and also really interesting that you say it makes a difference as a Scrum Master, and also acknowledge that there can be downside. But I do actually have data to back up what you're saying. And I do think one of the best foundations to enable autonomy and a culture of autonomy is to let people self-select. And I said I have the data because in 2015, my friend David and I, we wrote a book. First edition, 10 years ago, pretty radical idea at the time. And it was quite successful. So lots of people then tried self-selection following our method. And then they told us about it. So we have interviewed people, we've published articles, and we now have data and evidence and stories from 10 years of self-selection. So we do know that it overall increases autonomy in organizations and makes for better teams and better organizations. Just in case, and I just remembered that maybe not everyone knows what self-selection is and how it's defined, but it is a facilitated process that lets teams pick themselves. So it's a process that allows people to choose what they want to work on and who they want to work with. And since we published our first book, we have data from many organizations across the world. This is a subset and just the ones we know about. And we have data from all over the world. And there's three things that I want to share with you that we learned about this. And one is that 10 years ago, we thought that teams should be really stable. And what has happened over the last 10 years is that there has been so much change with restructures, with companies growing and shrinking, that teams are way more dynamic than they have ever been. They're also getting smaller and they're getting busier. They're doing more with less. And that team composition changes. So maybe we don't have a specialist for every skill anymore, but our teams now have AI colleagues. And because everything changes so quickly, team formation, we need to speed up team formation. We found that management selection simply can't keep up. It's too slow, managers don't have enough information, and it's way faster and makes for better teams when teams can self-select. And we also learned the hard way that it's a really bad idea to just throw people in a room virtually or in person and go, hey, sort it. That we as facilitators and as leaders, by the way, I also regard Scrum Masters as leaders, but that we as leaders need to support people in this. So give them the autonomy and then support them. So we need to clarify the purpose, the constraints, the guardrails, and enable autonomy through really strong leadership. And the third thing that I found really interesting was that when we started 10 years ago, it was all about the event, get people into a room and have them pick their own team. What we found now is that that's just the beginning. and it had surprising and very lasting benefits, because way after the event, people were used to having autonomy, to be trusted, to know which decisions they could make, that it has been an enabler for future autonomy. I talked to a company in Germany. They had no plans of being agile, doing agile, anything like that. They just wanted to increase autonomy, and several hundred people in several countries. And they did a self-selection, let people pick their own team, and it worked so well for them that they moved from a traditional approach towards agile, because they did like the results so much. And also, like you said earlier, that there is a danger that people just choose their friends, don't care about the bigger picture, and don't make for good teams. But what I found over the last 10 years is it is really important and works to make it clear that autonomy is not about me. I want to work on what I want to with who I want to. It is about solving a puzzle, like solving a puzzle in collaboration with everyone else. So it's not about giving everyone exactly what they want. It's about finding a solution together. And if people have adult-to-adult relationships and can have conversations, they will discuss, they will negotiate, and they will compromise. And like adults, they will figure it out. Because really, if we do treat people like responsible adults, they usually act like responsible adults. So I think I want to encourage all leaders to enable and push for autonomy, and to people, to anyone who receives autonomy, to accept it, to grab it, and to make the most out of it. Because I truly believe that autonomy is a gift, and we need to show that we deserve it. Because for 20 years, we have been walking around going, hey, we are knowledge workers. Don't micromanage us. Trust us. Give us autonomy. So now we need to show that we actually deserve it. And in summary, those are my 3 tools I think will increase autonomy and make it possible to enjoy our work more, like just becoming more resilient, training it, reassessing, recalibrating our relationships, and allowing people to choose what to work on and who they work with. And that's all I have to say now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sandy. That was really awesome. Love that talk. That was so good. And I'm definitely going to buy the book now, because I didn't realize there's a 2nd edition out with all new learning. So yeah, definitely.
Well, is the first one still collecting dust?
Yeah, it's been on my Goodreads list for a long time, but yeah, I need to get better at reading stuff in my backlog, but that I'm going to prioritize that to the top. But really loved your insights on that one. I have a quick question, and then probably have a bit of time for some questions before everyone needs to get ready to start their day. But maybe the answer's in the book, but I really liked your insight about it not being the event, because I've done some kind of self-selection exercises in the past, and it's been a big focus on the event, and it's experimenting with it. It's been good, but something that isn't easy to do well. So I'm curious. So if it's not the big event, how do you curate that? How does it form? Like, what's the alternative, I guess?
I still usually have an event. What I have learned is that, well, just having the event is not enough. And I have learned about the bookends of the event. Like the first part is you can't just, it all takes us a while to get our head around it. Like I have gone through the stages of, and everyone has, this is a great idea, like, whoa, this is scary, this is never going to work, shit, what if we fail, let's not do it, and then, oh yeah, maybe, and getting used to the thought. And if it took me a few weeks to get used to the thought, then we need to give people some time to get used to the thought. to that it's okay, it can work. Then have the event. And then after the event, like what you have after the event is basically a few pieces of paper of a blueprint.
Yeah.
Now the real work starts of making it happen. And that is, I think, as soon as possible, get people together and have a conversation about, have them make a plan of what's next. How do we make it happen? How do we make it happen as quickly as possible? Because there's never a good time.
Yeah.
And have a support, have support in place. And I think good Scrum Masters, good team facilitators are really helpful there.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Sandy. So, Rich, I think you have a question.
Yeah, I did on the chat. Thanks, Andy. It's really good. So in an environment where everyone can choose what they work on and who they work with, I guess I'm playing it out in my head. If you were a leader, and how do you ensure that important work or urgent work still gets done? So let's say there's a a P1 incident or something that's happening. How do you, in a self-selection environment, I guess there would be a fear that, I'm not going to work on that. That's painful. Why would I want to, as a developer or as a support person? So I'm just curious, how do you allay those fears from leaders who have those kind of problems?
Yes, that's totally understandable. And it's not a, hey, let's just show up to work every single day and see what do you feel like doing. It's there is still there are constraints. Like I need a team that deals with production incidents. I need another team that does the BAU. I need a third team that does whatever it is. And so that is a given as a leader. And but what I don't tell them is who needs to be in that team. And I just go, if you got the skills and can convince me and everyone else that you have the skills and the ability to do the purpose, deal with the P1s, we're all good. And the other thing I want to say to you is I've always been so surprised about how much I'm projecting. The BAU team, why would anyone want to be in a BAU team? Boring as. But that's just my opinion. Like when we then try it, it's like lots of people love it because to them this is fast turnaround work with real user impact. It's like, oh yeah, just because I don't like it doesn't mean someone else doesn't like it.
True. Cool. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Let's see.
I think I have my hand up. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I've been on public transport for my single office trip of the year. Hello, Sandy. It's been really interesting, but I'm really still stuck, I think, in the first half of the talk because while I love the idea of self-selecting teams and I advocate for it as much as I can, in the current environment, which you were sort of talking about earlier, it really feels like it's just really far off. And I got kind of bummed out actually in the first half as well, because it feels like we're going in the wrong direction. And if we're not even getting sort of that autonomy to make sort of decisions day to day, there is no way they're going to let us take that freedom to set up self-selecting teams. So I don't know that I have a question or if it's just a comment, but that it just feels like we work so hard to try and get this stuff and build the safety and build these practices. And if the leadership's trend at the moment is going in the completely opposite direction, then what do we even do with that?
I think you really got something there, and I agree with you. And I think what we need to do is change the conversation. 10 years ago, it was perfectly fine. We were moving, we're pulling in one direction, which is have job satisfaction, happier people, Daniel Pink's drive, do something for the people. Having that conversation now, I think, is impossible because everyone's panicking and it's all about delivery. I don't care about how people feel. We just need to get stuff out. So the conversation changer I think we need to have is, in order to deliver, in order to get stuff out, you can't be the blocker. We can deliver more faster if we have decision-making power. If people can, we know better who should be on which team if you let us decide as a group, rather than you going away and thinking you know better, because you will be slower and you will get it wrong. We will get it wrong too, but at least we'll buy into it. Basically have a business benefit and change. We need to change our language around that. And I haven't entirely cracked it, but I have a friend who works in sustainability, and for ages she has been talking about why this is good, why renewable is good, blah, 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 the conversation we all have. And recently she has changed her language to, hey company, hey CEOs, treat this as like you would a vendor, for example. If you want to have tourists to New Zealand, you need to have a supply of green nature and so on. This is your most valuable asset. If that goes away, you don't have a business. And I wonder if we can somehow change the conversation a bit into that direction. Like, not sustainability, but something that actually just talks business language way more than we do.
So talking about the business impact of it, the return on investment, or the dollar impact, or whatever it is.
Yes. We don't have to deal with all the personal differences because people are together who don't want to work together. We have less friction. We will have people work on teams, even if there are personal differences, who will make it work because they put themselves there, so they will work harder to make it work, rather than if you put them there and them maybe sabotaging it. They will not just sit back and be told what to do if they're on a team where they actually want to work on a thing they want the team's supposed to work on. So I'd go in that direction.
So you don't think it's an intentional shift towards the authoritarian?
I think it's a panic reaction, and it's a bit the pendulum swinging back. Because I also think that as Agile coaches, we haven't done ourselves a favour. I think many of us, we have overdone it when it's all about happiness and all about feelings, and that's important, but it's not the only thing. And so I think we have pulled too much in one direction, and maybe pushing a bit more towards the middle.
Interesting. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for the questions and the conversation. It helps sense make all the amazing content in your talk, Sandy. Thank you so much. So I think we're at 9, so we'll probably wrap up now so everyone can get on with their day. But Sandy, thank you so much, and thanks for letting us record. I'll trim it and put it on YouTube and share it with everyone. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. So hopefully next time we'll have an in-person event in Perth, so watch this space. And Sandy, next time you're here, definitely let's make it happen.
Next year, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much, Sandy. Thanks, Will, for organising.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Will, I've got a couple of my colleagues here as well, which is very exciting because I know that, I think she's dropped off. Deepa knows Sandy, and Anna has joined as well from Sydney.